I didn't think I'd ever hear from her again, until 7 months later my phone lit up with "Can we talk?" Hey friends, please subscribe and turn on notifications, like this video, and leave a comment with your impressions. This will be a great help. Thank you. We never tire of reminding you. It's all thanks to you. I'm 37 and I live in Columbus, Ohio. I work as a project manager for a mid-sized construction company, mostly schedules, contracts, and keeping people from missing deadlines. My life runs on lists. If something breaks, I don't panic. I document it, make a plan, and fix it. That's important because the relationship that broke me wasn't loud. It was quiet, polite, and confusing. And then it came back in the exact same quiet way, 7 months later, with a single text that could have wrecked all the peace I'd rebuilt. Her name was Megan. We were together for almost 3 years. Not on and off, not messy, not some dramatic roller coaster. We had keys to each other's places. We had a shared grocery list. We had the same Saturday morning routine, coffee, farmer's market, and then she'd insist we stop at a little bookstore because she liked the smell of paper. We met at a charity 5K downtown. I wasn't even a runner. My coworker needed a fourth person for his team, and I said yes because I felt guilty. Megan was handing out bibs at the registration table. She had this calm voice and an easy smile like she didn't have to try to be liked. She asked my name, wrote it down, and then leaned in slightly and said, "You look like you'd rather be anywhere else." I laughed because she was right. I asked her if she was judging me. She said, "A little." Then she handed me my bib like a peace offering. We started talking after the race. One conversation turned into a date, then another, and before I knew it, she was part of my life in a way that felt natural. She worked in HR at a hospital network. She was good at reading people. She remembered birthdays. She knew how to make a space feel warm just by being in it. The first 2 years were easy, not perfect but good. We didn't fight much, and when we did, it was small. We both hated yelling. We both preferred calm discussions and practical solutions. We talked about moving in together someday. We talked about traveling. We talked about buying a house when the market cooled down. And then, sometime in the 3rd year, she started drifting. It wasn't sudden. It was like watching the tide pull away from the shore. She'd still come over, but she'd check her phone more. She'd be tired, but not the good kind of tired, the kind that makes you want closeness. She'd be busy in a way that didn't have details. When I asked how her day was, her answers got shorter. When I asked if something was wrong, she'd smile and say, "No, I'm fine." At first I believed her. Everyone has seasons. Work gets stressful. People get exhausted. But as weeks turned into months, I realized the pattern wasn't about stress. It was about distance. One Friday night, we were sitting on my couch. A movie was playing, but neither of us was watching. Megan was scrolling on her phone. I was pretending I wasn't noticing. Finally, I paused the movie and said, "Can we talk?" She put the phone down slowly like she'd been expecting that. Her face was already composed, which told me the conversation had been happening in her head for a while. "Okay," she said. I didn't accuse her of anything. I didn't raise my voice. I said, "I feel like you're here, but you're not really here, and I don't know why." She stared at the coffee table for a long moment. Then she said, "I've been thinking a lot." Those words should have been harmless, but they landed like a warning. She told me she felt stuck. She said she didn't know what she wanted anymore. She said she loved me, but she didn't know if she was in love in the way she thought she should be. I asked her what changed. I asked if I had done something. I asked if there was someone else. She shook her head quickly. "No," she said, "it's not like that." Then she said the line that cracked something in me, "You're too steady." I blinked. "Too steady." She nodded like she was trying to make it sound like a compliment. "You're good, you're consistent, you're safe, and I know that's what people want, but sometimes I feel like I'm living the same week over and over." I didn't know what to do with that. My life was stable because I worked for stability. I didn't consider it a flaw. I said, "We can add excitement, we can plan trips, we can change routines, but I can't be chaotic just to prove something." She looked at me with this sad expression, like she already knew her choice. "I don't want to keep dragging you," she said. "You deserve someone who doesn't question it." I sat there quiet, trying to keep my breathing steady. My brain wanted to scramble for fixes, a different schedule, a weekend getaway, couples counseling, anything. But I'd learned something from work. When someone has already decided, your arguments don't change the decision. They just give them material to feel justified. So I asked one question. "Are you ending it?" I said. She swallowed. I think I have too. I nodded once, not because I agreed, but because I understood. Okay, I said. She started crying right away. I didn't want it to be like this, she said. I didn't touch her. I didn't try to comfort her, because my body felt like it belonged to someone else. I said, then why are you doing it? She couldn't answer. She just cried harder. That night, I walked her to the door. She turned around and hugged me anyway, and I stood there stiffly because my heart hadn't caught up to reality. She whispered, I'm sorry. Then she left. The next day, she texted, I hope we can be friends. I stared at that message for a long time. Friendship sounded nice in theory. In reality, it meant keeping my wound open so she could feel less guilty. I replied, I can't do friends right now. I need space. She sent a single, I understand. And then she disappeared. The first month after she left was brutal in a quiet way. No chaos, no drama, just a constant hollow feeling like my apartment had lost its sound. I'd wake up reaching for my phone, then remember there was no good morning message waiting. I'd buy groceries and forget I didn't need her favorite creamer anymore. I did the worst thing too. I replayed everything, every conversation, every small sign, every time she was quiet and I told myself it was just stress. I made lists in my head of what I could have done differently. And then somewhere around week 3, I realized something that hurt but also freed me. You can't perform your way into being chosen. So I went into repair mode. I'm the kind of guy who changes the locks when a key is lost, not because I'm paranoid, but because it's a practical boundary. That's what I did emotionally. I deleted our shared albums. I muted her on social media without blocking her. I stopped going to the places we always went together for a while, not because they were hers, but because I needed my brain to stop expecting her to walk in. I also did something I'd never done before. I wrote down the reality of the relationship, not the fantasy. I wrote. She pulled away for months and wouldn't talk about it. She called me too steady. She ended it without offering a real plan to fix it. She wanted friendship immediately, like my feelings were an inconvenience. Seeing it in black and white made it harder to romanticize her. I started therapy. I didn't tell anyone at first because I didn't want advice. I wanted clarity. My therapist asked me a question that felt insulting at the time. What did you ignore because you wanted it to work? That question kept me up at night. Because I realized I had ignored the way she avoided discomfort, the way she preferred vague feelings over direct conversations, the way she liked my stability until it demanded a decision, then she treated it like a cage. By month 3, I was functioning again, not thriving but stable. Work got easier, sleep returned, the heavy fog lifted in small increments. I started going on long walks after dinner instead of sitting in silence. I started cooking again. I started texting friends first instead of waiting to be invited. By month 5, I had real moments of joy, not forced, real. I spent a weekend in Hocking Hills with friends. I laughed until my stomach hurt. One night, sitting by a fire, one of my buddies said, "You're different." I said, "Different how?" He shrugged, quieter, but in a good way, like "You're solid again." I didn't say it out loud, but I knew what he meant. I wasn't waiting anymore. And then in month 7, my phone buzzed at 10:47 p.m. on a Wednesday. I was in bed, half asleep, when the screen lit up. Megan. My chest tightened instantly, like my body had been trained to respond. I didn't open it right away. I stared at her name for a full 10 seconds, trying to calm my heartbeat. Then I opened it. "Hey, I know it's been a long time. I've been thinking about you a lot. I miss you. Can we talk?" That was it. No explanation, no apology, no acknowledgement of the months of silence, just a simple request to reopen the door. I put the phone down and sat up in bed. My first instinct was old, hope, that stupid, dangerous hope. But behind that hope was something new, caution. Because the part of me that healed didn't want to go back to the beginning of the same story. I didn't reply that night. I didn't block her either. I breathed. I drank water. I lay back down. I did what I used to do during stressful project deadlines. I refused to make decisions when my emotions were running hot. The next morning, I answered with one sentence. "I can talk this weekend. What's this about?" She replied fast, too fast. like she'd been hovering over her phone. I just miss you. I made a mistake. I didn't realize what I had until I lost it. Those words sounded familiar, not because they were romantic, but because they were generic. I replied, okay, meet me Saturday at 2 p.m. at the coffee shop on High Street. Public, daytime, neutral territory. She agreed. Saturday came and I arrived 10 minutes early, not because I was eager, but because I wanted to be settled before she walked in. She showed up right on time, which was a small detail that still hit me. She wore a simple sweater and jeans like she wanted to look familiar. Her hair was longer. Her eyes looked tired. When she saw me, she smiled, but it wavered. "Hi," she said. "Hi," I replied, calm voice, neutral. She sat down, clasping her hands like she was praying. "Thank you for meeting me." I didn't say, of course. I didn't want to reward her just for showing up after 7 months. I said, "You said you made a mistake. What happened?" She blinked hard. She started, then stopped. She looked away. I thought I needed something different. I thought I needed freedom. I nodded slowly, and she hesitated. "I dated someone else," she admitted. There it was, not cheating, because we were broken up, but still a piece of the truth she hadn't offered in texts. I didn't react emotionally. I simply asked, "How long after we broke up?" She looked down. "A month," she said quietly. My stomach tightened, but I kept my face calm. I wasn't angry. I was noting data. "And now?" I asked. She exhaled. "It didn't work. He was exciting, I guess, but it was unstable, a lot of ups and downs, and I kept comparing him to you." That line might have been meant as a compliment. It landed like a confession. I took a sip of coffee. "So you're here because it didn't work with him," I said, not cruelly, just plainly. Her eyes filled with tears. "No," she said quickly. "I'm here because I realized I love you." I held her gaze. "Megan, I need honesty, the full kind." She swallowed. "Okay." I said, "When you left, you told me I was too steady. You didn't ask to fix anything. You didn't ask for counseling. You didn't tell me you were seeing someone a month later. You disappeared, and now you text me 7 months later asking to talk. What exactly are you asking for?" She wiped her eyes. "A second chance," she whispered. "I want to try again." I nodded once, not agreement, just acknowledgement. Then I asked the question that mattered. "What would be different?" I said. She opened her mouth, then closed it. She tried again. "I wouldn't take you for granted." I waited. Silence is useful. People fill it with the truth. Finally, she said, "I was scared. You were talking about moving in eventually, and it made everything feel real, like I had to choose my whole future, and I panicked." That sounded honest, and it made me sad for her, because fear makes people do selfish things. But honesty doesn't automatically earn access. I leaned forward slightly. "Megan, I'm glad you're telling the truth, but I need you to understand something. When you left, you didn't just end a relationship. You changed how safe I feel with you." Her lips trembled. "I know," she whispered. I said, "I spent months putting myself back together. I did therapy. I rebuilt routines. I stopped waiting. I'm not the same man you left." She nodded, crying quietly. "I believe you miss me," I continued, "but I'm not interested in being someone's lesson. I'm not interested in being the stable place you return to after you test chaos." That line made her flinch, not because it was cruel, because it was accurate. She whispered, "So you're saying no?" I took a breath. "I'm saying I don't want to go backward," I said. "I don't hate you. I'm not punishing you, but I can't bet my peace on the hope that you won't panic again." She tried to speak, but only a sob came out. She covered her mouth, embarrassed. I waited calm, letting her have the moment. Then I said, "This is the part where I'm going to be kind, but firm." She looked up. "I hope you find what you're looking for," I said. "I hope you do the work to understand why you run when things get real, but I can't be the person you practice on." Her shoulders shook. She nodded, and I could see the acceptance fighting with regret. She said, "I really did love you." "I believe you," I said, "but love without consistency is just pain with a pretty name." We sat in silence for a moment. Then she asked, "Can we at least be friends?" There it was, the familiar request. And this time I didn't hesitate. No, I said softly, not because I hate you, because I need a clean boundary. Her face crumpled. Okay, she whispered. I stood up. Take care, Megan. She didn't stand. She just watched me like she was watching a door close in slow motion. I walked out into the parking lot and felt my heart racing, not with loss, but with adrenaline. Setting boundaries is hard even when it's right. In my car, I sat with my hands on the wheel, breathing. I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel like a hero. I felt sad. And then, underneath the sadness, I felt something else. Pride. Not the arrogant kind, the quiet kind, the kind you feel when you do the hard thing you promised yourself you would do. That night, she texted again. I understand. I'm sorry for everything. I hope you're happy. I replied with one sentence. I'm getting there. I wish you well. Then I archived the thread. I didn't reread it. I didn't keep the door cracked. I didn't punish her with silence. I gave closure and kept moving. A few days later, I realized something that surprised me. Her text didn't reopen my wound. It showed me that it had healed. Because 7 months earlier, I would have run back, grateful for any chance. Now I could see the full picture, the full cost, the full pattern. And I could choose myself without needing her to understand. People talk about getting closure, like it's a conversation you have with the person who hurt you. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes closure is the moment you realize you don't need their choice anymore. I didn't win because I rejected her. I won because I protected the peace I rebuilt when no one was clapping for me, when no one was watching, when I was doing the boring work of healing in my own apartment on quiet nights. If you're listening to this and you're still waiting for the text, I'm not going to shame you. I get it. I waited too, but I want you to remember something. The text might come. And if it does, it doesn't automatically mean they've changed. Sometimes it just means they're lonely. Sometimes it means their new option didn't work. Sometimes it means they miss the comfort you provided, not the partnership they failed to protect. And you have to decide, calmly, with your eyes open, whether you're willing to relive the same story for a different ending. Because peace is hard to build and easy to lose. If you've ever had someone come back months later asking for a second chance, tell me what you did and how it turned out. I'll be reading the comments.